Now, when it comes to DRA, hold up. Sorry, let me get it right, when it comes to Young Thug. But listen, I have to be brutally honest here. After sitting through 1 hour and 14 minutes of Young Thug's shiny new project, Ooy Scooty, staring at that wild cover art, track after track after track, phew, we need to have a serious chat. So, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe, because if you're anything like me, you're more than ready for this circus act, this chatty-patty performance, this radio shock jock cosplay to finally clock out. And with every single like, we inch one step closer to that blessed moment. Now, back to Ooy Scooty. Wait a second, actually, no, give me a whole minute. Because this almost never happens, but I genuinely don't know how to process what I just heard. From the second my timeline smacked me in the face with that album cover, I was already side-eyeing. We'll get into what it means later, but right now, I just can't believe we're here, talking about this, looking at this, together. And then, as if that cover wasn't already enough chaos, the rabbit hole went even deeper with the intro track Ninja. Honestly? I don't even know how to explain it. Just promise me one thing, do not play that out loud in public. Ever. From there, it only spiraled. The more I sat there, baffled by these so-called creative decisions, the more I realized I had to pause and deliver the straight-up message. If Ooy Scooty, and yes, an album with that cover, is really supposed to represent hip-hop right now, if this is the thing meant to push the culture forward and carry the genre as its backbone, then hip-hop would be, well, let's just say doomed. Shattered. Beyond saving. You get the picture. Because think about it. After everything Young Thug has been through, standing in the middle of one of the biggest free speech trials hip-hop has ever seen, all the drama before Drake, all the leaked calls, the messy fallout with Ghana and the rest of his circle, after all that, wouldn't you expect him to drop something powerful? Something career-defining? At the very least, something that reflects the storm he just lived through? But nope. Instead, we got an album wrapped in a joke of a cover, sprinkled with Fortnite references, chopped-up interview clips parading his songs, and tracks designed to be nothing more than meme bait. It feels like Thug cared more about forcing a viral moment than actually making music. Newsflash, Jeffrey. The industry has already moved on. That rich flex meme Drake had? Lightning in a bottle. Nobody's been able to duplicate it since. And your attempt here? It's not landing. Because let's be real, no amount of Facetune, no amount of tweaking that cover, can hide the fact that the music itself just doesn't hold up. And I'll break that down in a second. But first, let's circle back to the album's loudest trait, that cover. Hip-hop once gave us Nas, Eminem, Jay-Z. And now, we're looking at this? A cover that screams publicity stunt louder than it ever whispers artistic vision. No depth, no meaning, just clout and cheap buzz. So, if the only reason we're stuck listening to over an hour of this album is because of rage bait tactics, then yeah, hip-hop would be exactly what I don't even want to say out loud. And sure, there are a few moments scattered across the project that sound decent, but overall? It feels like Young Thug is parodying himself. Like he's playing a caricature of Young Thug instead of simply being an artist. Anytime there's even a hint of depth, he throws in some random, goofy, meme-worthy moment that wrecks the entire track. The end result? It doesn't feel like an album. It feels like a skit. A twisted experiment. A rap episode of Black Mirror. Because let's keep it real, this album dropped at one of the most critical points of Thug's entire career. So who exactly let him cook and actually release this? Maybe all that behind-the-scenes drama and those leaked calls burned more bridges than we realized. Maybe the real fallout was with Future. And if we're being generous, maybe this was originally supposed to be a completely different record, stacked with Future collabs, until all that tension forced a last-minute scramble. That would at least explain why Future only shows up on the pre-release single. But unless 15 tracks magically disappeared, I don't know what else to tell you. Because if this is what Thug's been crafting for over a year, then yeah, we're living through a rap nightmare. Think about it. We went from goofy Fortnite tracks, to T.I. randomly sounding sharp again, to Young Thug and Mariah the Scientist serving up whatever that was supposed to be. The pacing? A total mess. The sequencing? Straight chaos. It feels like they tossed the track list into a blender and prayed the pieces landed in the right order. And with some of the worst sequencing I've heard in years, plus having to stare at that cursed cover while questioning reality, it's giving pure disappointment. This is the same guy who once gave us Jeffrey. And now? He's giving us this? Even when you break down the tracks, ignoring the gimmicks, ignoring the viral bait, there's just nothing holding up. Take I'm So Dope for example. Decent idea on paper, sure. But Thug fumbles it completely with a hook so unbearable and so much yelling, you start wishing for silence. And then comes the moment that sealed it for me. The very next track, Pardon My Back. Word is, it only made the cut last minute after a Lil Baby feature got cleared right before midnight. And the twist? Lil Baby ended up dropping one of the best verses on the whole project. But let's be real. If Lil Baby is the MVP of your album, that's like Brian Scalabrine suddenly becoming the star of your NBA team. No shade, but come on. Put all of it together, the gimmicks, the chaos, the lack of quality, and that early confusion I felt slowly turned into something worse, sadness. Not because the music hits emotionally, but because this is what we're getting from someone of Young Thug's caliber. From the messy cover to the desperate reach for virality to the hollow tracks, the whole thing feels less like a rap album and more like a parody of one. If you showed this to Tupac or Biggie and said, this is where rap ends up 52 years later, they'd stare back in disbelief. Because honestly, it's all a joke. And look, there's being funny in a clever way, like early Eminem, like Tyler, the Creator, like ODB. Then there's mocking the art form itself. And that's exactly where Thug lost me. Back to this cover. The fact that the music isn't even the focus anymore says it all. Instead of trying to create something meaningful, Thug's busy thinking about how to tweak his look just enough to stir up buzz. That's it. No artistry. No substance. Just clout chasing. And once you sit with the album and realize how hollow it is, it gets exhausting. We've heard Kendrick. We've heard Tyler. We've heard clips. We've heard chants. Real music. And then we get Young Thug, still playing catch-up with outdated antics. And speaking of features, when your mandatory Travis Scott and 21 Savage verses end up being the highlights? Red flag, huge. Same story with Lil Baby, when your features are carrying the record, it means your own music isn't cutting it. This hurts even more because Thug's last two albums at least had sparks of creativity and care. Punk wasn't perfect, but it showed thought. Now, Ooy Scooty? It's nothing more than a meme generator. A desperate attempt to resurrect the clout-chasing era of rap, louder, sloppier, and sadder than ever. At the end of the day, this record feels microwaved. Disposable. The kind of album that makes a week of noise before disappearing into the void. The memes will fade, timelines will move on, and all Thug will be left with is a dented legacy. Because real classics, Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, Low End Theory, Purple Tape, Rodeo, DS2, they all had one thing Ooy Scooty doesn't, actual music. Iconic moments. Songs that stick. Not cheap, temporary gimmicks. And with no real lead single, no standout track, and competition from rappers actually making great music, this album was doomed before it even dropped. Sure, the bundles might bump numbers a little, maybe 60 to 85k first week, but after that? It slides to 30k and vanishes. Just like Lil Baby's flop era. So let's call it what it is. This album? A turning point. The unmistakable moment Young Thug's Cadillac went off the cliff. And if I'm going to be that person, which, let's be honest, I probably am, let's close with this. Once again, we've got proof that you never, ever go against Kendrick Lamar. Every rapper who's tried. Every single one of them? Crashed and burned. Meanwhile, Kendrick keeps delivering iconic covers, iconic albums, and iconic moments. No gimmicks. No Fortnite jokes. Just straight up, timeless music. And speaking of Kendrick beefs, if you want the full tea on the two rappers who apparently hate him even more than Drake and Young Thug do, well, you know what to do. Check out the suggested video.